Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Bringing It to the Table, because what happens at the table stays at the table. Stays at the table. I would love it if we could do that in unison, Pastor. We got to work on that. All right. Well,
in order to do stuff together, you have to be on one accord. The Bible tell you, how can two walk unless they agree? And we really don't agree.
Well, Pastor, look, I'm going to try to agree with you on today. So let's talk about it. Let's talk
woman
about
I'm trying to
it.
agree with is my woman, my wife,
Okay.
First Lady.
So, okay, First Lady's back, y'all. All right, well, today we have a great topic for you on today. We're going to talk about discussing your past in a relationship. How far should you go? How much should you disclose in a relationship?
I would say it would be based off situationalship. I think that it would have to be within the. I mean, if it's not within the confines of what we are discussing, then things shouldn't come to the table. Now, if there's an issue that comes up, then that's when it's time to reveal. You know, I don't think you should just be the first date like, oh, yeah, I slept with 56 people.
Well, yeah, you know, and this is how I feel about it. I actually feel somewhat the same. It's definitely situational, because it's like when you're getting to know a person, in my opinion, there are just like things you want to talk about. And I don't want to say it's so surface. It's just things about who you are as a person, character.
I apologize.
Who you are as a person, character, things like that. But the thing about it is, you never really know how a person is until you see them in situations. They can say all day what they are, who they are, but actual actions is what defines who a person is. That's how you get to know, to me, a person. And as far as talking about your past, and you know what's going on in your past, you got to learn the type of person you're with, and if they can even handle what's in your past.
Well, I still think it's a responsibility whether they can handle or not, and that could be a make or break situation. I mean, the last thing you want someone finding out about your past is in the streets or from another person, beloved, because, you know, it can get pretty low down and dirty. You know, I used to do this exercise when I taught at Harvard Law School. I used to do this exercise where I would tell them to tell a secret to one person in their ear. I say, you tell it. And by the time it got back to the original person, it was this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that, and that, and this, and like this, and like that. And so what I always say, get it from the source. Be the person to break your own news. Don't let TMZ come to your house or somebody try to sabotage you with papers of stuff that they heard. You know, they try to, you know, bring you onto a show, and then all of a sudden I got you. You know, I think it's cheap journalism. I think it's cheap person tell you who they are, the insecurities that they have. I think that person is a dirt bag. They are scum of the earth. And furthermore, I think that, you know, when people do stuff like that, it tells about their own doggone.
Yeah, Pastor, because you going way deep. And my thing is, how I feel about this platform is called Bring It to the Table. So it's okay to bring it to the table, but we need to do it respectfully.
The person has to bring it to the table. It's not okay when somebody else bring it to the table and you didn't invite them to do it.
Well,
you didn't invite them to bring it to the table, and then, you know, and so it puts a bad taste in your mouth. You know, when a person brings something to the table unbeknownst to you.
Well, here is the thing, though. That's the reason why
your show is bring it to the table, not surprise.
But
it's on the table.
But here is the thing. That's the reason why the platform is the way it is, because it's meant to allow a person to come in and speak what's on their heart freely without judgment.
I apologize. I'm just tired.
Okay. You want to end this quick?
Well,
you want I really want to make sure you well rested, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna just keep telling you about your hand, beloved. You really have you ever been? I'm just asking, and I'm not saying. Have you ever been? Somebody ever shook you before? Like when you
No.
did your hand like this, they grabbed your hand. They didn't break it, but they twisted until it couldn't twist a certain.
No.
Okay.
No. I've
Well,
never
I'm just
had that
asking.
happen to me before.
Well, most of the time when it happened, you'll stop pointing.
Okay.
I'm
it's
sorry. Almost like
I'm
the
sorry.
kid
I'm pointing.
with the fire.
I'm sorry. I'm pointing at you. I pointed at you. I'll make sure I point to myself.
Well, that's what we
forward.
should
I'll
do
this.
anyway. We should do that anyway. Before you
But
get
let's kind of get back to the topic.
Before you get the
Okay.
log out your neighbor's eye, get the beam out your own.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to
You're very dismissive when it comes to human beings, African American especially, that has
What?
testosterone. You're very dismissive, but you want to get your point across. Go ahead. You're more important. What you say is way more important than ordained minister that the Lord speaks to.
Okay.
But you go ahead.
What's your whole name? Pastor Leviticus, Bishop.
Let me tell you, my name is
Evangelist.
Bishop, Apostle, Pastor, Master, Prophet, Elder, Judge, Brother Leviticus, Daniel, King David III.
There we go.
I say it fluently because it is in me.
And I respect all 20 of you. I do.
And guess what? Guess what? You bring a lot of you too. A lot of y'all. And that's what that part of you that laughs, the 15-year-old version of you. That just don't see her way.
Okay. Yeah.
That part, the 20-year-old insecure woman that's gonna talk sassy. That's two people right there. You keep going, I'll call them out.
So let me ask you a question. Have you how much
that
information have you
40-year-old woman that's real snarky.
How much information have you of your past have you disclosed to First Lady?
Oh, listen here. I'm an open book. Let me tell you something. I'm very see-through with her. She's see-through with me. Listen, the biggest thing is that, when you're telling each other this, you should lay down there in the form in which you came through the canal. Mm-hmm. Come in your natural form. Take all of this off. Strip down. And that's when you here's the truth. Here I am.
Okay.
This is the way it is. I'm not hiding it. And I think that a lot of men are afraid of their natural form. Here it is. That's me.
Are we
and I
about,
walk around and I walk around and I let her know I'm not ashamed. Here we go.
Yeah.
And that's when the truth will be revealed to one another. There's nothing, my woman, my lady, my lover. That's my lover.
Yes.
That's what I call her. Right before I say, lover, are you ready? She said, yes, Lord. I said, well, lover, listen. We are going to go to that secret place. And she said, lover, I'm ready. And I told her one time, I said, if you would have prepared a place for me, then it wouldn't be different. That's one thing I love about her. When it's time, I know when it's time, she put a red bulb in the light in the room. So there's no...
Okay. Red bulbs. Yep.
So there is no... I didn't know you wanted to. I didn't know. Hey, jeez, man. Beloved, you really got to work on it.
Okay.
Man. Come on, man.
Okay, I'm
Come
sorry.
on, man. Come on.
All right.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Therefore, there's no hitting or missing. I know when it's time.
Because of the red light special.
Oh, the red light. Mm-hmm. And when that's on, I already know it ain't no guessing. Mm-hmm. It ain't no guessing. And then one thing we be intimate to is T.D. Jakes' love songs. You came to the love for life. And he comes right on and it just puts you in the mood. Listen, beloved, I love it. Hallelujah. Oh, man. And it's just a great way to usher in the love making, and.
Did you just imitate?
No. I would never do my comrade, in the body.
Okay.
He's going through some stuff, and I distance myself because I don't want them to associate us. But he's my comrade.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes you got to be wise and distance yourself and see what happens, and then I'll be his friend again. But right now, no, because I don't want them saying that we see us together.
Well,
So
I don't know if I want that kind of friend. It's either you gonna be my friend or you not.
No,
you gonna ride with me or you ain't.
I agree 100%. But until it blow over, then I might get back in contact with him. Just depends how his life goes.
Okay.
But
Well, and that's the point that I'm making when I say, how much should you disclose? Because sometimes folks are just not ready to hear what it is that happens in or has happened in your past.
Gotta have a safe place. Some people are sensitive about what you've been through, and they hold you to that standard as the present time now. Some people are not mature enough to hear.
Or if you in arguments, then you constantly hearing your past come up and being weaponized.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm referring to when I say, what kind of mate do I have? Let me find out who I have in my corner before I could even disclose that level of
see-throughness.
Now I want to say, see-throughness, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm withholding or whatever. It's just that I can't just be divulging my personal space, my personal business to every individual just because we say we together. I got to make sure that, like you say, there's a safe space for me to even disclose. And then how much of my past is even relevant to the relationship? Sometimes I don't even remember half the stuff that I've done in my past until it comes up and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Wow, that was a long time ago. It's not like I'm just thinking, okay, make sure I tell him this, I tell him that, and I tell him this. It's, it's like situational, like you said, as it come up. It's not like I'm trying to withhold. It's just that maybe it wasn't the time to disclose in that moment.
Yeah, well, I think for men, the biggest thing with men of things that we want to know if somebody done smashed you, done beat it up, or shot the club up, I would say. Because the worst thing you could ever do is be out with your lady and one of your guys come up and say, oh, hey, okay, bro, that's you? You said, yeah, that's me, man. You proud. Got her face on the chain. and he like, oh, so that's you? And you, yeah, why you say it that way? Because he done raided the town, the village. I think that's when it should be. You have to disclose it. If it's a person that you know and you guys know you go be in the company of, now that's the time you suppose. Then now that gentleman or that woman should be able to make a decision, a choice if they want to pursue you any further, because that's a very uncomfortable situation. Somebody done had first lady legs up like a goal post in the NFL. Is good, And who would be comfortable around a man that been in your valley, been in your town, know how your town look inside and out. That's a different type of comfortability you gotta have, and I wouldn't have that. I would be feeling like he done did what I did, and I'll be looking at her like, you scumbag, disgusting, even though it's life that happens. But that's why I say be forthcoming.
Life happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, life happens.
People have past.
Everybody has a past, but give that person an opportunity to say, you know what, that's a little bit too much for me.
Exactly. I agree.
That. But, other than that, it's situational. You can't make a decision not to tell them or tell her because you don't want to lose them, but because you'll end up losing them anyway, because the truth has a strange way of coming out.
Well, to me, I feel like asking how many sexual mates have you had in your lifetime is not like something you should ask once y'all have committed to each other. That's like a surface question. That's like one of those things like you ask when you're first starting to court one another. So we can get that squared away right away. But I'm talking about maybe childhood traumas or just things that I struggle with. I'm not about to just start disclosing my whole life you know what I'm saying, to a person that I'm not secure in and trust, you know?
Well, that's the getting to know.
That's what I'm saying.
See, if there's a person that you do want to divulge information
Yeah,
to,
it's
you
levels
got
to
be
this.
wise. It's absolute levels. But everything is backwards in the world now. Nobody courts anymore. It's they sleeping and then be like, what was your last name? It's backwards. So the getting to know part, or getting on the phone to get to know, it's a text era. Everybody texting, and I believe in being on the phone. Talk. My mother used to always say that the more you talk to a person, the more they'll tell you who they are.
That's it.
So that's why relationships go a certain way, because we don't take the time to get to know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to do that.
Right. And then one thing I was going to say about that is, the reason why I say it's levels to this is because by the time you get to marriage, then there shouldn't be anything off limits. Like, well, I don't want to talk to him about that, or this, and that. And I feel like even as a Christian, if God is leading you to
I apologize.
Why isn't that every time I'm talking, you always want to yarn? You want to talk about disrespect.
Yeah, that must be your trigger. It must be your trigger.
Okay, sir.
You could keep.
You are so double standard. Everything you try to lash out at me about.
I'm not double. I only speak English. Let's get that together. I'm not that way, but I'm trying to learn another language. But let me just say this: sometimes, the way you explain something, it just kind of just makes me yawn. That's all. It's nothing against you. It's maybe something going on up here that I have to probably try to find out. Like, what is it about your voice?
Okay, so let me just ask this question, because obviously the only thing that keeps you awake is you talking. So let me ask you this question. When it comes to divulging or getting to that place of understanding your mate in their past, what are some platforms or some ways that you could do that? Now, we already know courting, meaning like dating, going out, getting to know, what have you. But what are some other things, like when you're transitioning into another level or season of your relationship? What are some ways?
What I'm going to tell you is, when I have gotten my doctrines, 4 doctorate degree, a PhD, what I did was, you have to do research. And if you don't research and study, the Bible tells you to study to show thyself approved. And to tell you that we deal with our wives according to knowledge. And to tell you to wash her with the word. And to tell you that you have to, same way you study that word, you have to study and find out your mate. Find out the isms. And if you don't do that, then your relationship is going to be exactly where it's at. Not consistent and not well researched out. That's the problem, that we give up really quick. We throw the white flag in really quick. Soon as that person burp and it don't smell like you think it should, or they fart, and with they back towards you, and they just let it go, and you like, and they deny it. You didn't fart, and we only 2 in the room, so I know it's either me or you, and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's that trust that you got to get to that point. But I think a lot of relationships, you're not studying that person. You got to study them and find out if this is what I can deal with, and I can't deal with that. But that get lost in translation. We don't study that person to find out.
So we give up. We give over ourselves.
We give ourselves, our
the
bodies
most intimate,
up.
Right? And then
we share all these juices, slapping skins and meats, and now. You like,
after you hook.
Yeah, you hook. Now it's like you can't stand them, but you can't live without them. That sounds like a trick. Yeah, it is a trick. It's a trick of the enemy. And then this is the thing that I find out, is that when you're dating, you can live in sin your whole life, doing all types of fornication. It's different types of fornications too. You do all that stuff, and it's just delicious to you, and as soon as you get married, it's like, I'm fasting. Oh, I'm a vegetarian now, and I love it. I love no meat diet. Oh, I can live like this forever, can't you? I'll be like, no. You know. But I'm saying it in fun, but I'm saying it in all seriousness. Is that as soon as you put the label on it, that's when all HE double hockey sticks break out, because there's no power without the covenant. You don't realize how much power you have once you say I do.
My thing is too is like you're never gonna know enough. I mean, well, you will know enough to know if you're wanting to move forward, but you're gonna always be learning about your mate, always be learning about their past, always learning things about them. And it's seasonal, because sometimes you won't find out certain things until the season it has presented itself in order for it to come out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, you have to have a level of trust and commitment to the situation to see it through, and just know that regardless of whatever present itself, I'm here.
All right.
I have the tools that I need to work with you to get through it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like one of those things where you're going to know it all before you commit. No, you're gonna have to
never know it all.
Right, exactly.
But one thing about it is that you can't punish a person for their truth.
Oh, now that's a good one, Pastor.
Stop punishing them, and it makes a person not want to tell you their truth if they're going to be punished for it. So you got to be mature enough, and you have to have enough God in you to be humble enough to accept their truth and not punish them for it.
That made me think about a lot of things that I had to disclose to my husband about me and my past, and just worried about judgment.
Can I ask you, was it like a Julia Roberts thing, or?
What you mean? Julia
Pretty
Roberts?
Woman. You ever seen Pretty Woman?
I did.
So you talking about like that, or?
Like I was a prostitute?
I'm just asking.
No, I was not.
Okay. Yeah, well, we cleared that up.
Well, okay. I'm not even finna lash back out at you. I'm gonna take the high road, sir. No, I was not.
Know. I was just that's why I asked. You asked to get to the source. So you're the source, and I didn't want to assume, because when you assume, you make a.
So what made you even feel the need to ask me that? Like, did you see anything?
The way you set it up. The way you were saying it, like, shame, like you, the vagabond woman, like you were like, oh. I didn't want to tell. I had to tell.
But guess what? Even if it was one of those things, this ain't a safe place for me to share.
But
so you would never know.
I think you would probably be by yourself right now.
That's not true.
If you were a prostitute.
Because my husband's not that way.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't know him as well as you think you know him.
Oh my God! Why is my marriage?
You telling me if you was from Backpage, and the only way I know about Backpage is somebody told me.
Oh really?
If
you ain't got no account.
No, I've never.
No profile, sir.
I would never indulge in that.
What about fans only?
Fans only. I've never heard of that. And a lot of things I won't hear because of my mantle that I carry.
Okay.
So it's a disciplined life.
It's a disciplined life.
I'm a high value.
You are high value.
So when you are high value and it's a disciplined life, you look at things differently. There's certain things I would never indulge in. Certain people I would never. You wouldn't catch my slip, like they say, your slip showing. You will never see me without my underwear on. Because I value the mantle that I carry.
Yeah.
I value that, and so that's for me. That is essential to finding that person. But here's the trajectory. You stay with God, and this is the person here. And if you don't stay with God, you go here and you run into jokers you don't supposed to run into. Because if you were to stay with God, you'll get to that person would be an understanding of you. Say, how can two walk unless they agree? You don't want to be unequally yoked. You're unequally yoked here. You tell them something, bam, they don't listen, right? You go here with God. It's harmony.
Right.
So go here with God. Don't go there.
Amen. That's good.
Yes.
That's good, Pastor.
So that's where I'm at. And the reason why is because I've been really, he's been so good to me. Let me tell you something. If your word don't look like this, if it ain't battle tested, if you ain't got marks in it and you ain't got notes and this and that, I would ask you, what are you doing? My word, you see it all marked up.
Your page coming out.
Exactly. I like that. If your word ain't like that there, you're not living a disciplined life.
Like a coloring book? Yeah.
You let me tell you something. You gonna say the wrong thing and you gonna wake up with antlers. You keep it up. You keep it up because he care about me.
So what you said? God gonna get
I
me
just
because
said-
he care about you. He care about me too.
Okay, you're laughing at one of his own.
I'm one of his own as well, and I'm not laughing at you. I was
still on
laughing at the
probation.
book.
You still on probation. You
Well,
have
God
not
is
crossed over
good.
yet.
He good. He
You-
really is.
You a newbie.
God is good.
You a newbie. You see that noise you made? That means you need to exercise. You ain't number 25 and you sound like you're 66. You notice
oh
how
my
I do.
God.
I don't make them noises when I'm
You are so wrong.
I'm not trying to be. I don't mean to.
Yeah, you do.
No.
I think you do it on
Listen,
purpose.
no, I say it in love. I say it in love. You have to stay mobile. If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean? If you don't use it, you'll abuse it.
You have any questions for me?
About what? I'm just saying.
About the show. What we talking about?
What was that again? Because you
Oh
know, a lot of
my
times
God.
you say things. And
it's okay. You know what? On that note.
What were you saying? I'll ask you a question.
I can pull her on that note out quick.
Well, that doesn't.
On that
I'm
note.
sure you say that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
on
we
that
wrapping
note,
it up.
On that note, yeah. You have to learn patience. We were just talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Being patient. Mm-hmm. Being patient. Now, what questions would I have to ask you about the topic? Now, what was the topic again?
The topic is how much should you disclose in your past when it comes to relationships?
Let me ask you, as from a woman's point of view, what is important to you that a young man should disclose to you? And if it's a need to know basis, I'm thinking about what phase in the relationship are you in? That depends on what needs to be disclosed.
Yeah.
Now, if this is the getting to know, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking you. You just told me to ask you a question.
Oh, it sounded like you was answering your own question. I'm sorry.
Man, beloved.
What was the question?
There it is. You just harped to me about not asking. So I'm asking you at what phase and what is important that you would like a young man to disclose to you about himself. What would be important to you in the beginning phase, intermediate phase, and now we're in the advanced phase of this relationship. Beginning phase, what would you want this young man to disclose to you in the beginning phase of the getting to know?
To me, a lot of questions I would ask in the beginning phase would be, I would want to know, do they have children? I would want to know when was their last serious relationship, so I can understand how long it's been since they've been out of the relationship, or if it's a fresh, breakup. I would want to know, questions about their aspirations. What are your desires? What are you looking to do? Because that gives me an idea of the direction they're going in their life. First and foremost, I would like to know if they are a believer in Christ, because then that tells me if we're aligned in our beliefs. Are they close to their family? And not necessarily entire family. I'm talking more of intermediate, like siblings, mother, father, because then if you don't have a relationship with your mom, then that can possibly tell me if you know how to necessarily treat a woman or not, or if there's a woman in your life, an elderly woman that that's a mother figure. So to me, I feel like learning certain things about your dynamic and what's going on could give me an idea, not necessarily a factual, but just an idea of who you are in your core being. So it's like just questions that kind of probe. Questions that kind of that I'm probing to just find out the makeup of this person and who they are, and to see if it aligns with where I feel that I'm going in life. So those are like a lot of the beginner type questions, and then as you move along, you know, it expounds more and more. If you decide like, okay, I'm feeling this person and I'm looking to go a little bit further.
All right, beloved, that's what I'm talking about. I gotta go. All right.
Oh my God! What? Okay, you know what? On that note, it is time for us to just pull a plug. I thought I was giving some good information, but I guess, you know, Pastor didn't feel like I was. So I want to thank you so much for coming out, for taking time to, like, you know, look into what it is that we have to say. We thank you so much, and we just say, I'm just toe up right now. Tune in to the next Bring It to the Table, because what happens at the table stays at the table. Have a good one. Bye, y'all.